Good evening, boys and ghouls. You're listening to Where the Scary Things Are in collaboration with ZC Emporium for B Movies and PromoteHorror.com. Please follow us on Twitter at Scary Things Pod and follow us on Facebook as well. Check out our website at www.wherethescarythingsare.com. I'm your host with the most, the one, the only Monster Mash Ken, and with me is my co-host, the Mistress of Darkness, the Queen of Fright, the Lady of the Night, Muse. Muse, I got a good question for you. When was the last time you dressed up for Halloween, and what was your costume?
Oh my gosh. I think it was this is gonna sound really lame, but I think I was like a teenager. I know I should be dressing up. I'm just so like procrastinating lazy that I don't. I'll say I'm gonna dress up and I never do. So I think I just remember I went and took my one of my cousins trick or treating, and I just threw on some quick face paint, like it's like a zombie. It was really weak.
Weak
I
sauce.
could have done so much more, but I was like, I need to get ready in 5 minutes. So I literally just grabbed something out of the cabinet that she had left over and threw it on my face and was just like, let's do it. I just wanted to take her so she could have fun.
I was trying to think what I was for the last time, and I think my wife and I did like a tandem thing because we went to some party, and I'm not even that big of a fan of this, but I did a Vulcan from Star Trek, and she did a Vulcan, so we were like, I it was just the only costume we could find that was a tandem. So yeah, it was pretty cool. It came out pretty good. But there's one guy that's on our show, our co-host, that his face is too pretty to cover up. Chris, how are you doing
Hey,
today?
I'm doing wonderful. The days are getting really short, and we did a whole lot of stuff to get ready for the winter. We got our gas fireplace service today, and we are all set. But my favorite time of year, especially the latter part of October.
Will you be handing candy out this year?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We will, and we have absolutely no pattern how many trick or treaters we get. It goes from zero to several dozen, and I don't know. I guess it has to do with phases of the moon or something.
Yeah, probably. Well, we did have one other co-host with us, but it might have been replaced by a skeleton of some sort here. Horo, are you with us from the dead? Do we need to do a séance? Hello, hello.
Y-
All I see is a
y-
skull.
Yeah. This is Dexter here. Dexter is the new intern for Promote Horror.
Okay.
So yeah, Horror's slacking off in the back somewhere. He's had too many promotions lately, so he's a little tired. So he's gonna let me sit in here for the beginning of the show here, and I don't really have eyes to see much, but I trust you guys are doing a good job.
Well, he's definitely spooky. All I see is like a floating skull, so it even adds more to the flavor. What shirt is Dexter wearing today?
He's got his "I'm a horror icon" shirt on, but he has to earn the shirt. That's what Horror has told him. So
Well, things don't get any weirder here on Where the Scary Things Are. Speaking of weird and spooky and scary, I cannot wait to talk about the movie that we'll be reviewing tonight. Ooh, I turned this movie on last night and I was in bed with my wife and she's doing her Facebook deal or whatever she does. And I got my headphones on and I put on like the first, I put it on and the first 10 minutes of this movie will ruin your life if you're a parent at all or anything like that. And it's like, I just told my wife, like, oh, I'm so glad you don't watch horror movies with me. I'd be divorced. And anyway, so the movie we'll be talking about is Anything for Jackson. We'll be talking to the director, Justin Deek. I I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I hope he doesn't kill me. But Justin and producer Keith Cooper will be rocking with us later on at 8 p.m. The second half of the show. As always, we have an excellent show lined up for you, and we're going to kick it off first with the beer of the week and my horror movie flashback. So I got this really cool beer, and I think you guys are going to get a kick out of this. This says Arrogant Bastard Ale. I had to get it because it kind of reminded me of me because I am a little arrogant, and I am definitely a bastard sometimes. So cheers to you guys. Couple more, I think 13 more days to Halloween. Or wait, 11 more days to Halloween. Sorry. That's pretty tasty. This one's a pretty good alcohol, 7.2%. I'm drinking a pint. This is Arrogant Bastard. They're brewing out of Escondido, California, not to be confused with Santa Cruz, California, as it says on Chris's shirt, which is a very beautiful place, Chris. I don't know if you've got to visit. I might have a cooler shirt. I don't know about maybe Dexter, but this Pulp Fiction shirt I bought. Big Pulp Fiction movie fan. One of the best. If you have never seen Pulp Fiction, I've seen people on Facebook or Twitter say they've never seen. I must be getting old, but go watch Pulp Fiction. Anyway, and also, I don't have a specific movie. There were a lot of movies that came out this last week, but I want to celebrate a birthday that came out. That's today on October 10th here, and Bela Lugosi was born this day. And if you don't know who Bela Lugosi is, you shouldn't be listening to this show. Bela Lugosi he's he's on the Mount Rushmore, if not the mountain itself, of horror movie icons, of classic Hollywood horror movie monsters, Dracula, and he's immortalized this role, Bram Stoker's Dracula, the character. You see all the black and whites and all that. This is what it's all about. This guy has done so many films. I'm trying to go through and look at all of them, but sometimes he did like 5 or 6 films a year, and it is crazy. And this is, he was born back in the 1800s, late 1800s, I think 1893, if I remember right, and he lived well into, I think, 1940. I can't remember off the top of my head. Chris may have been alive drinking beers with them, or blood and beer, I don't know. But anyway, that's the horror movie flashback, as well as the Arrogant Bastard Ale for the Fear of the Beer of the Week. Grab your beers, grab some candy, watch some scary movies. Anyway, I'm going to pass that on over to Muse and the Sinister Six.
All right, I gotta say, I love the name of that beer. I was cracking up over here. I had it on mute, but it was like, oh my God, I gotta find that. I love it.
Yeah,
all right,
good.
so we did not do our segments last week, but I had my Sinister Six from last week, so I'm just gonna use that for this week. I'm gonna recycle, which is always a good thing. Yeah, and I was like, I'm just going to use this one. It was a really good one. So when we talked about the movie last week, I kind of looked at it as it kind of reminded me of a body horror at times. And there's a lot of great body horrors out there. And even the movie Anything for Jackson could kind of qualify as well. Anytime you have a possession movie where something's taking over your body, I think that qualifies as it could be a body horror. I think some are a little bit more graphic than others, where we get pretty grossed out with some of the things that can happen to us. But I thought it'd be fun to go over my top 6 favorite body horrors, and anything where something's like coming out of your body or taking over you, or there's lots of slime and goo. So I'm going to swing around and ask you guys what some of your favorites are after I run down my 6 really fast. So I'm going to start out with a classic, and that is The Brood from 1979. And this one, oh my goodness, lots of goo here. There is no doubt. I don't want to give too much away about this one, just because it's got so many great parts, and I don't really want to ruin anything for anybody that might have missed this one from 1979. So it stars Samantha Eggar and Oliver Reed. And Oliver Reed plays a mad doctor who tries psychoplasmic therapy on a raging woman, soon to be a mother. And that is such a vague description. And I'm going to be vague on purpose, because you've got to see this movie to believe it. It's got so many amazing scenes. I mean, she is going to be a mother for sure. And wait till you see these babies when they are born. And they basically just completely out of control, like cannibalistic babies and all kinds of stuff. And that's always fun to see. And there's just so many moments that will make you remember this movie. Samantha Eggar is absolutely fantastic. There's so many trippy types situations in this. And it's Cronenberg, David Cronenberg. I think he's on this list about 3 times. Because he's like master of body horror. I love David Cronenberg. So, and actually, I believe his son has gotten into movie making as well. His name is Brandon Cronenberg, and I'm kind of wondering if one of you guys bring up one of his movies. So I'm not going to say that one, but his son is following in his footsteps, definitely. And has like a really clever movie that he did, and it reminds me a lot of his dad. So The Brood is my first movie. The second movie is one I've heard Horo talk about. And I actually tried to throw a movie on my list that I have not seen, so that I can challenge myself to kind of like get out of watching the same movies I always watch, because I'm a big fanatic with watching my favorites over and over and over. So I often am not watching newer horror like I should be. And that's why I'm so glad that we do independent horror, because I'm seeing movies that I may or may not even ever have seen. So, and it's fantastic. So my second movie is Raw from 2017. And it centers on a vegetarian, a very stringent vegetarian named Justine. And she encounters a decadent, merciless, and dangerously seductive world during her first week at veterinary school. Desperate to fit in, she strays from her principles, and she eats raw meat for the first time. The young woman soon experiences terrible and unexpected consequences as her true self begins to emerge. And Horo has talked about this one, and I've got to find it because I absolutely love the concept of this. I can tell it's going to get gory, it's going to get crazy, it's going to get insane. And just the name just says it all, Raw. So I can just imagine the things that are going to go on in this one. And I've heard it's absolutely fantastic. So this is one that I encourage you to see. I aim to see it. It's definitely moving up on my movie queue. I've got to track it down. And when I do, I will definitely report back and tell you all what I thought about it, maybe down the road. The third movie is another classic, Alien from 1979 as well. I mean, this is like, iconic. I could not have a body horror without putting Alien, Ridley Scott's Alien on there with chest burster aliens and, face huggers and just all this stuff. Just, I mean, who would, I remember the first time I saw this. I mean, there's something so just perverse about the face huggers. Stuck to the face. They're basically laying eggs in your mouth, basically. And, and then you're giving birth to a chest burster. And, of course, that turns into all kinds of craziness with the xenomorphs and so on. So I remember the first time I saw this, I was just like, anytime I had a stomach ache after that, I was just really like, oh my God, not this. The scene would just kind of play back in my mind. So I definitely had to put Alien on there. It's a classic. My fourth movie is The Fly. And it's another Cronenberg. This is actually a remake, which I loved. One of the best remakes out there, in my opinion. And Jeff Goldblum, anything Jeff Goldblum, I'm like, yes, I'm a huge fan. And he takes over the role of Seth Brundle. He plays Seth Brundle. He completes a teleportation device and decides to test its abilities on himself. Unbeknownst to him, a housefly slips in during the process, leading to a merger of man and insect. Initially, Brundle appears to have undergone a successful teleportation, but the fly's cells begin to take over his body. As he becomes increasingly fly-like, Brundle's girlfriend, played by the lovely Geena Davis, is horrified as the person she once loved deteriorates into a monster. So this is kind of like a tragic one at the same time, but his metamorphosis into the fly is so gross and I love it. There's goo, there's stuff, he's vomiting goo out of his mouth, body parts are falling off. I mean, his face is becoming extremely deformed as he's transforming into this insect. And of course we see the final product as he's fully transformed. And Geena Davis, poor Geena Davis, she's still in love with him, but she's just like horrified as things begin to take a turn for the worse. So definitely I'll tell you that's definitely tops. If you've not seen that, you got to go back and see that remake. I do love the Vincent Price classic. Don't get me wrong. It's excellent. But I loved the remake a little bit more just because I think of the practical effects all by itself. My fifth movie is one that y'all may have missed. And if you have, you've got to go back and see this. This is kind of like a thriller / horror. It's called Bug from 2006. It stars Ashley Judd and Michael Shannon. This movie made my husband and I actually watched this, and I somehow talked my husband into this one, and we still talk about it today because it's just so out there and insane, and you're really not sure if something is actually happening or if it's all in their minds, if it's some kind of hysteria or just something that's gone wrong and they're hallucinating or whatever. But it takes place at a rundown desert motel, and Ashley Judd plays a character named Agnes. She begins this tentative relationship with this guy that kind of shows up. He's a newcomer named Peter, played by Michael Shannon. And he has like this really strange charisma. I mean, she's really drawn to him. She doesn't know what it is. But he offers her a fearful and unstable flicker of hope. Agnes is already struggling. She's dealing with a lot on her plate. I don't want to ruin too much for anyone that has not seen this one, so I don't want to give away too much because there's so many insane moments in this. But Peter reveals that the military deliberately infected him with a bug and that he has these tiny insects crawling under his skin. And paranoia begins to really take over these guys as the movie continues. And he gets her convinced she's got bugs on her. He's pulling out his teeth with pliers because he's convinced they've laid egg sacs under his teeth. I mean, for anybody that's got like dentist phobia or teeth phobia or whatever, this is another movie that's going to ruin your day, your life, your year, whatever. It's just going to mess you up. So that's just one one instance of, one of the amazing body horror scenes here, but you just have to see this movie to believe it. So if you have missed it, it is streaming on Tubi TV right now, free. I do know that for sure. I think The Brood is as well, if you missed that one from the earlier selection. So definitely check out those two. I'm not sure about the others. I'm sure it's Halloween, so these movies are probably everywhere. Most of them are a little bit older. Definitely check out Raw. And my last one is another classic, which I'm almost positive is also streaming on Tubi TV, and that is another Cronenberg. Like my whole list has been David Cronenberg, but it's Rabid from 1977. This one has also been remade recently in the past couple of years by the Soska sisters, and it was a really great remake. I am a huge fan of the classic though, and this is going to be another really vague description of the movie because I don't, I think that some of these classics, some of us may have missed, so I don't want to reveal too much, but some of you may have seen the remake. But this one centers around a young woman who is a motorcyclist. She's from Montreal, and surgery leaves her with a blood-sucking appendage in her armpit. So that right there is just like, okay. And then, of course, she has an insatiable thirst for human blood after that, of course, because, if you're going to have a blood-sucking appendage in your armpit, you're going to need human blood to satisfy that. So I'm going to swing around and I'm going to ask this time. I'm going to ask Horo first, and I'm going to ask him what some of his favorite body horrors are.
All right, well, Horo's still doing something.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dexter. I'm sorry.
So Dexter here is going to have to answer, but this will be Dexter's first opportunity to give a correct answer. But from what he understands, Raw is a terrific answer, and anybody out there who has not seen Raw needs to see that immediately. That is a rare 5 pools of blood at Horo's reviews, so you definitely need to see that. But besides that, we have a recent movie, Beach House, which was on Shudder recently. Definitely gets ooey and gooey there towards the end, and definitely in that makeup of movies. There's some other names here, and I know at least Ken. I'm sure Chris will hit us up with some older movies here, but I'm trying to say whether I should say some or not. Say it, Dexter. Just to say it. Okay. So one is Teeth. How about Teeth? Anybody out there see Teeth?
I have seen that. That is a classic. That's a new classic for me.
That
Ouch.
is a
Ouch.
yeah.
Ouch.
Ouch. That's a guy's worst nightmare. Dexter doesn't have to worry about that. And then let's say one we've mentioned before, Cabin Fever. But kind of one for the guys and one for the girls there, because that leg shaving scene, ouch.
Yeah.
So I think Dexter did okay there, but we'll pass it off to someone else now.
I'll jump in, and I'm a little disappointed in you, Muse, that you didn't say this one, but I don't know if it counts. I think it does. Thing?
I didn't because I wanted to save it for somebody else, and I was going to but I thought that was a little too predictable. I wanted to kind of go a different route because I'm always like Kurt Russell. I'm like, everybody's going to like boo me off the show because
same shit, different show.
Yeah, like same shit, different show. So yeah, I was hoping, I had a feeling one of you guys would pick up the Thing. I had a feeling it might be you, but I didn't want to take that. And that's
I was wondering about that. Yeah.
That is for sure a body horror to me, because something's busting out of your chest. It's an automatic body horror. Anytime something's happening to your body and there's some kind of metamorphosis taking place, it qualifies.
I was going to say The Fly, and then you got to The Fly because I think that was, and I think you nailed it. That was probably better, if not better than the original. Jeff Goldblum. I don't know about the second one with Eric Stoltz and whatnot, but yeah, this one was.
I didn't dig the second one.
Yeah, I think The Fly, just that whole performance and Gina Davis and whatnot, it was just when he throws up on the guy's hands and they're melting. And another one, yeah, there you go, Eric, Chris. Another one that I remember watching when I think I've only seen it once or twice was Basket Case.
Yes.
That one ruined me. I was like, what the hell is this? And that stupid creature would jump out and eat you, and it was like his brother, I think, or something, right? I can't remember.
Siamese twin, yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta confess, I'm probably boof. I've never seen Basket Case.
That's
ever.
okay. I saw it like back in the late '80s, I think. I was
so
a kid.
ashamed.
I grew up in a weird house. My dad was like all about watching scary movies, and my daughter won't even walk into Halloween stores. So big difference there. But I'm gonna throw it on to Chris. I know Chris has got some good stuff.
No one said Videodrome. I didn't even have that on my list, figuring one of you guys would have said that. Bite is a movie we did on the show maybe 6 months ago. The woman who's getting married goes to Costa Rica and for a bachelorette weekend gets bitten by a bug, comes back, turns into a bug. Uh, okay, the old ones. The Manster, mad scientist injects fluid into some people and uh, their evil selves grow out of them, almost like a Siamese twin type thing.
Oh.
That's from the early 60s. The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant, I think that's Rosie Greer and Ray Milland. And one of my favorites is a Japanese film called Matango, Attack of the Mushroom People, when a boatload of really good looking Japanese people go on this island infested with mushrooms. Some of them eat the mushrooms, and when you eat the mushrooms, you become mushroom people. So that's from the mid 1960s. And I believe that one's on Tubi as well. It's a creepy movie. So, so those are my 4 or 5 movies. Videodrome Bite, The Man, yeah. So
Tubi TV is a treasure trove of horror, and I love it. There's so many great classics on there, and some I've never been able to watch because I've missed them for some reason. Another one I wanted to mention was The Incredible Melting Man.
Oh yes,
I'm like, I wanted to wait for Chris because I was waiting for you to say it. I think that's a late 70s movie as well, 77, I believe. And
well,
that's
Muse, you might not know this about The Incredible Melting Man, but a very great Detroit Tiger is in that movie.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to watch for that.
Picture Mickey Lolich as one of the security guards toward the end of the movie.
Okay, yeah, because I just started it the other night. I wasn't able to because it got too late, but so I'm definitely going to probably finish it tonight. So I was loving it. I saw the trailer for it and I was like, oh my God, I need to watch this. This looks totally out of control. So yeah, it was great choices, guys. And that's my Sinister Six for the week.
Great. I'm glad you waited to this week because it was a good list. There were some good movies there. I just want to say what's up to John Grant hanging out there in the chat room there.
Hey, John.
Hey, John.
We also got Dino Stomp Gaming, I believe. Is that who I think? It's Tony, right? Yeah, Tony. What's up, Tony? Thanks for joining us on the show. Dexter, you got to get some of your friends, man. Quit slacking. I'm going to put in a bad grade for you. So you're up next, Dexter. Let's see what's going on in the 666 horror rundown.
Oh, Dexter, my friend. Hey, look who's here. Oh, we're both here now. Oh, so everybody here live gets us both here. So, Dexter, you've done a good job, but I don't think you're ready for this portion of the show. So we're going to have to say goodbye to Dexter here for a moment.
Yeah.
I will.
Bone out there, buddy.
Yeah. He needs to relax there. But I give you credit. You nailed the Raw thing. That was good. I'm glad you went there and you didn't blow that because otherwise you would have lost your internship right away. But I'll get settled in here. And amazing enough, Dexter actually helped me with this anyway. So I guess I'll have to give him some credit because only Dexter would come up with today's movie here. And it's not necessarily a remake and not going to talk about it in remake terms, but maybe talk about this movie as is it time to bring back this type of movie? And I've Dexter reach into his bag of Halloween tricks to bring up Ernest Scared Stupid. Yes. Going back to this day, and Ernest goes to camp and all that kind of fun stuff. But we can settle on the horror version that he did. So, do we need a remake of this? Obviously not. Can we get one? Obviously not. At least with Jim Vernon playing it. But is it time that horror kind of gets this kind of character back and has this kind of fun? I don't know. I guess that's going to be one of the questions asked around tonight. But one of the reasons we kind of bring this up is maybe we already got one. I don't know if any of you have seen it yet, but there's Hubie Halloween out, and that is Adam Sandler's new movie. And Dexter didn't get to see it yet. He had him working on other projects at that time. But we actually sat and watched that the other night. And it kind of had me thinking the way Adam Sandler played this role is, can he do a next version of Ernest? Can he be the next Ernest if he wanted to expand this Hubie Halloween? Maybe not. Depending whether you like him or not is basically whether you're going to like that movie or not. If you're a fan of Adam Sandler, you'll probably like the movie. If you're not, you're probably not gonna like it because it's just a lot of his type of humor. He brought in, of course, a lot of his friends that you see in several of his other movies. Um, so that's kind of how it goes as far as Hubie Halloween. I know a lot of people have seen it. I believe it's on Netflix, if I'm not mistaken. I always get Netflix, Amazon confused. But that kind of, he plays the same kind of character, kind of a goofy character. Obviously, Ernest talked to the camera a lot more, and this was Hubie's more of a regular film. Ernest was kind of like talking to the camera and having fun, and always just trying to tell people how to do stuff and do it in his way, which never seemed to work. But here you have Hubie, who's also kind of a lost soul. He just wants to do the right thing, but he's getting picked on by everybody, and kind of gets blamed for what goes on in the town. But we all know it's not his fault, and everybody blamed Ernest, and it wasn't his fault either. It's just a matter of his being. So tonight is not really are we remaking this and whatever. It's is there a time for another one of these characters to come upon us? I know Ernest wasn't only a horror character. He did several other different movies. He did different types of things and so forth. But do we need that kind of horror back? I've watched a lot of horror this year, and I would say there have been horror comedies. There's been some good moments and so forth. But as for a character like this, or like Ernest or a Hubie, we haven't seen too many of them. This year has been full of a lot of some emotional horror, some very dark horror. There's been a couple of good anthologies, but not a lot of funny per se character movies, or maybe even shorts. Something that maybe is a little shorter than that. So I guess the question is, and now would be a good time for that. I mean, is it a good time with the heaviness of the world that's going on with elections and viruses and all that? Is it time for horror to maybe lighten up? Maybe not. I don't know. Or it doesn't have to be horror in general, but maybe just have a character come forth and kind of maybe fill that kind of role. So that's kind of the direction here I'm going tonight. It's not really, we don't have to do a remake or whatever, but that's kind of the question I'm posing here. So I don't know. Anybody want to volunteer their thoughts? I don't know if you have thoughts on Ernest, you have thoughts on Hubie Halloween, if you've seen it, or just kind of what I said, bringing that kind of character to light nowadays.
Chris,
Well,
go ahead, Muse. Go ahead, ladies first.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I've watched most of it, and I just feel like it is a good comparison to Ernest. I just think Adam Sandler just has just so many great characters he's played in comedic roles over the years. I felt like it was kind of like a throwback to the OG Adam Sandler. He's kind of gotten into more dramatic stuff in recent years. I watched Uncut Gems recently, which was really good. Not horror, but definitely if you're an Adam Sandler fan, you want to see him do something different. It was really excellent. It's also on Netflix as well. But Hubie Halloween just kind of made me, there was a lot of great cameos from his previous films in this one. Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, if you love those kinds of films. I love comedy Adam Sandler, a huge fan. And it is really super silly, but it is definitely what 2020 needs right now. We need to be able to sit back and laugh and forget about stuff for like an hour and a half. It's honestly, it's so much fun. I didn't get to see the whole film, but I loved what I saw. I was like over halfway through, and I do definitely see what you mean by the Ernest comparison, because he's got that silly kind of like out there, outlandish kind of like personality and stuff. And you just got to just laugh because you're like, what is he doing, But I loved it. It was just such a great film. And I just loved all of the characters from his previous films that we saw kind of like make a reemergence. I believe the one young lady that plays kind of his love interest in this one was in I think it was Happy Gilmore, played his love interest there as well. And I cannot think of her name, but she's really pretty. And she kind of like plays his love interest as well in this one. And it was just a hilarious movie from what I could see. And definitely one of those you have to see this Halloween. I can see me watching this every year, because
Really?
it's that much fun. Yeah. And it's just such a throwback to if you miss the Adam Sandler of like Happy Gilmore and The Water Boy and Billy Madison, you're going to love this. this is definitely for you. If you did not like those movies, well, I mean, you might want to skip this one. But I really loved seeing the old school Adam Sandler reemerge, and he's back with a vengeance for sure.
I'll have to check it out. I didn't watch it, but I did. Of course, Ernest was part of my childhood. I think Ernest Goes to Camp was the best, obviously, in my opinion. But as far as your question goes, I think there's something for everybody out there, and I think as far as comedy horrors go, I think mine just kind of stops with what's the Shaun of the Dead type. That's like my horror there, because there's some, and then even Uncle Peckerhead, which we just watched. That was good. It was funny, and it wasn't like super scary or anything, but it was comedic horror. And I just, when they're not trying to act super funny, like something like the Adam Sandler movie, I mean, I'm gonna watch it because of kind of what Muse said, and I'm a huge 90s, early 2000 Adam Sandler fan. Then he got kind of weird, and then he's coming back, But yeah, I'll check it out based just off of what Muse just said. But yeah, I'm gonna take a pass on it. If the question is, do we need another character like this? I'm gonna say no. And I'm sure maybe you got something in the news later on about another movie that was from our childhood, I guess, that's gonna be remade. And these things, like I said, there's something for everybody out there. I'm gonna take a pass, and I'll actually pass it over to Chris.
I don't want to see anything with Adam Sandler in it. I can't get past his face. It's a face you just want to punch. And I have no interest in seeing any of his movies. As far as comedy horror, it ain't my thing. I want horror.
He's not going to come on the show now, Chris.
I know. Well, good. I'm very hostile to comedies. And people say, "Oh, it's a comedy. You'll love it." I said, "I'm not watching it." And sometimes they make me watch them, and they say, "Didn't you think that was funny?" And I said, "Yeah." "So you glad you watched it?" I said, "No." I just don't want to see a comedy. I can find funny things to laugh at hilariously every day. I go out every day, and I could come back with, you won't believe what just happened. And also comedies too. I don't like making fun of people who are hardworking and maybe misunderstood. Much of today's comedy does that. It does it in a veiled sense, but there are a lot of hardworking people that are made to look silly and stupid. And, people throw out the word offensive all the time. But I tell you, something, these mindless comedies, supposedly, I don't see them as mindless. I see them as very, they've got agendas, and I don't like them, and I can't look past that. I could go on and on, but I won't.
Before you move on, or I got a question for Chris. Did you like Young Frankenstein by chance?
I would say that, to me, that's one of the most overrated movies there is. I had no interest.
I'm feeling you, dog. All right, because I agree. I 100% agree. Everybody goes crazy. It's like, it's okay. Yeah. It's. I mean, Gene Wilder's amazing in his own way, but I was like, unpopular opinion there. Yeah. I don't think it's that great. No. Like, it's just okay.
Gags that could have been done in another medium. I don't know.
It's silly. It's silly, but I think, like you said, I think it's in my opinion, it's an overrated movie, and I think a lot of people kind of just go with other people's opinions, and they think, So that's me. I don't know about what Muse and horror will think about that, but sorry to.
So there.
Oh, that's okay. I guess to kind of wrap this up, I'm not going to give a recommendation for or against Hubie Halloween. That's obviously your taste and whether you want to watch that or not. And obviously whether you like Adam Sandler is going to depend really on whether you watch that movie or not. I guess Adam Sandler, Rob Pattinson are now two stars that will never ever be on this show because we basically ruined any chance of that.
All Chris's fault.
And maybe and maybe Scarlett Johansson. So Chris, you're responsible for
Christopher
two of them
Walken
at
look
least.
alike, yeah.
And maybe Christopher Walken. So Chris is just annihilating guests that will ever
I
come
don't
on the
plan on looking
show.
at her face. I don't know.
Yeah, well, then, that's another show, and yeah, you know me. I like my horror brutal and scary, and especially the movie that we talked about last week, the
Yeah,
movie we're talking about tonight.
very much.
These are my type of movies. You know what my movie of the year is. Once you see that, you'll see. So those are my type of movies, but I don't mind. I've grown fond of horror comedies. It's not my go-to, but I at least can watch it. And if it is in the realm of, like you said, Shaun of the Dead, something like Tucker and Dale, that kind of stuff, I can certainly roll with. So it's okay from time to time. It's definitely not my first go-to. And with that, let's jump into the news and something else that we won't be seeing, and definitely now because they just put the nail in it. And that is the Craft Legacy, the new one that's going to be out on the 28th. They rated it a PG-13. So yes, we just see Chris just died right there. Dexter was mad. I had to explain it to him and then go through all that. He he was around when the original. That's what he said, but he's passed since. But yeah, it is PG-13. So I guess I kind of
It's
expected that.
audience driven, man.
Yeah, it is. It is
It's
for the
audience driven.
audience,
They got to.
and especially since they're bringing it to everybody's homes. Remember, this is not a theater release, so that makes it even worse. They bring it into people's homes. I guess they don't want people throwing on rated R stuff here. And like I said, when I watched that trailer, I had high hopes that maybe they were gonna, they looked like they were tinkering with a few things that might have been magical and maybe darkness. But yeah, I guess PG-13 goes with the sparkles that we saw in there, and Batman will also be PG-13 probably as well. Anything that sparkles
No way. No
is
way.
anything with sparkles is PG-13 automatically at most. Um, Reminder here is Tremors, Shrieker Island, for those watching us right now live, that is out and available for you to watch. This is the latest Tremors movie because the series goes on and on and on. It is on also, to surprise, on Netflix. So because I guess Netflix has been showing some of the older ones, they decided to throw that up there. So that was a little bit of a surprise. So if you're dying to see that right away, and you don't really have an interest in buying it, because I don't know who wants to really own that, wait for the collector's edition when they finally stop the series and you can buy them all. You can watch that one on Netflix now. Um, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the new one. We mentioned it before. I guess it's supposedly going to come out next year. We'll see if that they can meet that deadline or not. But apparently, the website has popped up. They had a teaser poster pop up for that, so you can go check that out. I'm not going to get too excited. Let's see them get into production and see how that goes. They've already had a bump or two, and it's really hard to get excited to any future movies because we don't know when we're going to see them, how we're going to see them, or what's happening. And again, that's a remake. So we really don't know. The last couple of Texas Chainsaw Massacres have just been really, really tough. So I don't know where to go with that one. Something that you can see right now also is Never Hike Alone in the Snow. This is a fan film, and it's on YouTube. You can go watch it now. It's done by the same people that did Never Hike Alone. This is an ode to Jason. He's in the movie. Really well done. I don't go around recommending, just every fan film. Some are done really well, and some you give people credit for trying, but they just don't get it. This one's done really well, and apparently this series, has done a couple of things already besides Never Hike Alone, and they're going to do more. So, this is just a piece of it. So I guess they're building on something that's going to go all together. So if you're looking for something on YouTube, this version is only about half an hour. So I say you can jump right into that and watch that. Well worth a watch if you just kind of want to get a new Jason feel and get a Jason fix in. Let's see, something I wanted to mention last week. It's kind of old news by now, but the Addams Family, the cartoon, will have a part 2. So, for your kids out there, people with kids, even those who are just fans of the Addams Family, I watch it. It's not bad. I mean, it's an animated thing there. There will be a part 2. And I'm surprised we don't see more animated because I figure that's easier to do with the virus going around than anything else. But there will be a part 2 there. Kane Hodder is going to be out with a new film next year. kind of if you don't know, he's into paranormal investigation. So I guess that's where this one's going. It's called Belcom, a paranormal investigation, and the trailer's out for that. And that apparently is going to be released next year. And again, that's about paranormal investigations and so forth. And because we set the bar here, we always mention something ahead of time. We mentioned it. I forgot if it was coming out of the Sinister Six or whatever. We started mentioning Dexter, and we almost got a conversation about that. Yeah, Dexter, like my buddy here, has returned, and so will the show. The show is making a 10-episode reappearance, and that will be sometime in the fall of next year. So exciting, and Michael is back playing the role of Dexter. So I guess they're going to pick up maybe where they left off and see. I guess everybody was iffy. We don't want no spoilers here. We talked about it, the iffy ending that they left it on. Maybe, again, this is the reason why you leave maybe an iffy thing, because you bring it back. So if you would have, killed him off there, you would have never had this opportunity. So fans of Dexter, I'm a fan of Dexter. And I'm, it's obviously they couldn't do this without Michael coming back. So I'm excited for that. And we'll see what they can do. Maybe they can wrap it up in a better fashion. Maybe they have a better idea to kind of finish that off in the way that everybody wanted. And speaking of that, I'll finish this off with a couple of recommendations. Two of these movies, I'm not sure when you'll be able to see them, but I just want to go on record. I've reviewed them already, so you can see if you've seen them on the site. But I want to go on record that I like them so that you guys can all know when you eventually get to see them. One is Bloody Hell, and the other is Boys from County Hell. Two different movies, similar names, but those are two that are well worth a watch. I don't know the details yet on when those will be out. And then the last one will be eventually on Shudder, from my understanding, and it's The Queen of Black Magic. This is an Indonesian film. This has Chris written all over it. This is apparently a remake of an older 1980s film that was done, but I guess they asked them to do this. If you've liked Satan's Slaves and some of the other recent Indonesian horror movies, you're gonna like this. The ending is just, I can't even tell you how crazy the ending of this movie is. But like Chris said, this is Chris's kind of ending. This is my kind of ending. No horror comedy. This ending is absolutely nuts. Even if you don't want to watch the rest of the movie, just go to the end of this movie. I don't remember seeing anything like this. But those are my three recommendations. And pass it back to you.
Yeah, big news on Dexter. I might tune in. I kind of tuned out the last two episodes or whatnot, but I definitely loved the first three. I thought John Lithgow was excellent, and as somebody in that series there. But yeah, good for him. One thing that I thought you were going to mention was the witches, and with Anne Hathaway's picture that ruined the whole thing for me. So I can't. Muse and I hate CGI. I know you guys do too, for the most part, but it just looks like another. Okay, it's weird. I obviously the original Witches was geared towards like a younger audience, but it was scary, man. That witch was Angelica Houston, was scary as shit. And then Anne Hathaway is, I think, a brilliant actress in her own way, but just it looked so bad to me. I don't know. I know you shouldn't judge off just one little picture there, but I'm sorry, that's out. So I thought you were gonna bring that up.
That's why I kind of passed on it. I like, I already killed us with having to bring up The Craft, and then I have to bring up this too. I can only bring up so much stuff without, then I have to bring Dexter in behind me to come and sit here again, because I can't sit through all that.
Well, we needed some hardcore horror talk, and we're going to pass it on over to Chris, the creature, for the creature feature of the week.
Hey, thank you. We got a weird, a bloody one, a vicious one, a violent one. And we're going to talk to the people that made this movie in just a few minutes. Anything for Jackson, not to be confused with the Carl Weathers epic, Action Jackson.
One of my favorites.
I don't believe Carl Weathers is in the movie we're talking about today, or Vanity. I don't think she's in this movie. I could watch it again and make sure, but always a good idea to put those people in movies that they don't make this movie. Hey, have you guys ever met a Satanist? And I'm not talking about the wannabe fantasy role players on Twitter. I'm talking about somebody who builds an altar, puts a dead bird on it, and does incantations to get rid of people or whatever. Have you ever met somebody that does that?
I think Dexter may or may not be a Satanist.
Dexter's a victim of one, I think.
He was.
Yeah.
I'll ask him. It
he
was something on
ran.
his It was on his application. I'm not too sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hell's
Yeah.
it?
I've met one, and it's sad. Um, and after I talked to this guy for a number of hours, I took the handcuffs off him first and got him a drink of water, let him call his lawyer and see if he wanted to talk to him. And he did. And it was sad. I mean, he did all this stuff and it worked. He had some success with it. And that was the sad part. What really got him into this full force was when he first started doing things, it worked. So what are you going to do? It works. And the next time you do it bigger and it works. And the next time you do it bigger and it works. The next time you do it bigger and I show up with handcuffs. And so there's a pattern that develops. You're a victim to your own success. And anything for Jackson, we're going to meet a couple of people that sort of fall under the same pattern. There's I want to call them an elderly couple. They're really not that old. When we're watching Henry Walsh and Audrey Walsh, who are played by Julian Richins and Shella McCarthy, we're seeing a couple who's maybe about 60 years old, and they look a lot older because they've just been through a gut-wrenching, awful time of it. We think 2020 is a bad year. Imagine going through what this couple has gone through. An awful car accident leaves their daughter paraplegic. And that's going to play out horrifically. And it's one of the most chilling scenes in the movie, which we're not going to talk about. You got to watch the movie to see it. And it leaves their beloved grandson dead, Jackson. Which is interesting because we see him early on in the movie. And whenever we see the dead kid early on in the movie, that's coming. And it's never a good thing for the person who sees him. But it's just an endearing couple. They're nice, they're prim, they're proper. They've probably aged 20 years in the last 2 years. He is a very nice doctor. He delivers babies. His wife is Audrey, a very smart woman that you've met them. They're always on the internet. They always got to learn things. And they're not grieving well. They want Jackson back. How do you get Jackson back? Jackson died horribly in a car wreck earlier. I don't know if it's a year or two early. I don't think it ever makes it clear, but it's relatively recent. Well, she finds a way. There are some incantations you can do. I don't want to call it the Necronomicon because it's not. It kind of is. It's one of those books with all these satanic stuff in it. And if you do these rites, you get a good translation and you can follow directions. And guess who comes back? Your dearly beloved who's departed. And she gets an idea. We need to bring Jackson back. There's only one way to do it, and it's through Satan. Can you understand that? Can we empathize with them, sympathize with them? Now, that's a good question. And you go in there, you like them, you figure out what they're going to do, and are you still liking them? And are you still sympathizing with them or empathizing with them? Well, these two actor and actress do a fine job because you're with them, you like them, you want it to turn out well for them. You can see the stress and unhappiness in their face. Unfortunately, the victim in all this is going to be Shannon Becker, who's played by Constantina Montelis. And she is a pregnant woman who coincidentally goes to Dr. Walsh because she's pregnant and she's going to eventually deliver a baby. Coincidentally, she lives down the street and walks by their house every morning. Well, guess what they need to bring Jackson back? A pregnant woman who's coming to term with a fetus, a baby, because when you do all this hocus pocus satanic stuff, and this is typical stuff, a dead bird here, a crow here, little blood over here. You guys can probably figure it out. You can go on Google and get it in 10 seconds. Uh, uh, Supposedly, Satan is going to come up, take Jackson's spirit, put him into the baby, and when the baby is born, it's going to be their grandson. And they're getting a lot of good signs that they're doing it right. One is the host mother starts seeing Jackson at the corner of the room. They can't, she does. And that's a good sign, or so you think. But, once you start fooling around, forget about dead birds, crows, Necronomicons, satanic Bibles, blood here. Just pick a Ouija board. It never goes well. And so if you want to do Ouija board plus a whole lot of more moving pieces, here we go with what the Walshes are going to try to do is bring Jackson back. And they're out of their league. They're a nice couple. And all they know is what they Googled. And all they know is what they've asked a couple of satanic wannabes who obviously don't know anything anyway. But nobody ever says, I don't know anything. Everybody says, I'm an expert, especially when you talk to Satanists. They're all experts. They all, have coffee with the Prince of Darkness themselves. But then when push comes to shove, you find out that they don't know nothing. And I'm not even going to tell you how I know all that. It's really not important, maybe for a different show. Well, and it's sad because, this perfect plan of theirs and their meticulousness and following directions, you just know it's not going to work. In fact, even more than that. Not only is it not going to work, but this is a horror movie that's snowballing. And it's going to keep snowballing, and you can only imagine what's coming. And so they get involved with this, and the further along they get, it appears to be working. But on the other side, other things start to happen. They start seeing things. Different types of ghosts come visiting them. And it's not Casper. No, it's not Casper at all. It's not, hey, here I am, Casper. How you guys doing? Jackson's coming back. Hey, no. It's mean. There's one that does this crab walk thing with the bag on his. Oh, God, I'm not even gonna go there, but that's in the movie a lot, and I think it even grows. I think you see it, and then it's like 9 feet tall at one point, and you're just imagining how this guy ended up this way with the bag on his face, and your own mind is going crazy. But they're focused. Bring Jackson back. There's a dental floss scene. You're never going to dental floss again. And I'm the biggest cow. I floss all the time, and I don't think I'll be picking up dental floss again anytime soon. We won't go there because this show, we try to keep it rated R, not NR. But it's a horrific scene. The imagery is amazing because it's horrific. And amongst the horrific imagery, stupid us, we're still enthralled with the Walshes, even though they've kidnapped this pregnant woman and they're going to steal her baby. They're going to try to. And doesn't matter what's happening around them as long as Jackson's born. Well, they realize they need help later in the movie. And that's, you can imagine, they get the heavyweight Satanist to come. And Ian is played by Josh Cruddas. He walks the walk, talks the talk. But the problem is, if you're a really, really good Satanist, it's not like those Hammer movies. You remember when Christopher Lee came out as like this nobleman, this Lord of England, and he's like this well-respected guy, lives in a mansion. Well, it turns out he's the head Satanist, and they all wear tuxedos and capes. It's not like that. Ian's a
lost soul.
He's lost soul. I know.
Looking for a friend, and
yeah. So Ian's introduced to the plot, and this is not a good thing because Ian, well, he needs money. He doesn't do anything for free. Satanists are just like churches. You got to give your tithes, you got to give your offerings. Not just like churches, of course, I don't mean that. But money's necessary. And he says, okay, guys, there's a couple of problems here. One is you're doing good, but your translation's not that great. You're praying to the wrong guy. You got to do this thing with the salt. You got to do this thing here. And that's why you need to pay me 10 grand. And I get that Necromonicon book, which is this antique book, which he can't believe. And they agree to it. Can you trust a Satanist? Think of the definition of what a Satanist is. Do you want to get into a fiduciary relationship with a Satanist? I could see an agnostic, an atheist, an Episcopal, but a Satanist, so there's that. And believe me, there is that. And your heart is breaking because you want so much to go right for the Walshes, even though they're stealing this lady's baby. I'm not going to mention the mother too much, but she is definitely a heavy part of the movie, and she is all about escaping. And you're going to see how that plays out. But the ending is going to be, like I said, it snowballs. And by the time we get to the end, it is horrific. These ghosts are nothing to fool around with. Ian reveals who he is. And the Walshes, you really, really see they're in over their heads. Does Jackson come back? Hey, you got to watch the movie. And not an easy movie to watch, especially if you're about to go upstairs and brush your teeth and floss. Oh. Anyway, this is a scary one. Anything for Jackson.
All right. That's an excellent review. Oh, man, you hit on so many buttons there, from the contortionist type ghost into the teeth. And we're going to get right into it. We're going to bring on our two guests. We'll be right back. Everybody sit tight.